Hey everybody, dang, look what happened to my hair. I just literally had to cut all my hair. But that's because right now, I'm actually in Saudi. Exactly, I'm in Mecca. Alhamdulillah, bro, I just finished my Umrah. But I want to talk to you about how to become the human, not just the human. I'm going to be talking to you about how to become the luckiest human alive. Now, the reason why I'm talking to you about that is because I was in the plane, right? Because, you know, when I came to Mecca, I came from a plane. And as I was in the plane, I took my phone out, and for some reason I just started getting this inspiration, and I kept writing, and I was like, the stuff that's coming out is so beautiful. Like, I wanted to turn it into a video, and so I want to give this whole stuff to you. Like, the information, I want to give it to you, just in this video right here. Now listen, first of all, I hope it looks good just having my hair like this. I hope it doesn't look bad, but anyway, how to become the luckiest human alive. What I noticed is that back when I was younger, right, I used to think, I'm like, how is it possible that Allah is watching me right now, and Allah is watching you right now, and taking care of that human right now, and that human right now, taking care of literally every single human alive? When I was young, I used to be thinking about that, and just looking back at that, I'm like, that's actually pretty beautiful how little me was thinking. How is Allah taking care of literally every single human at the same exact time? It's actually crazy if you think about it, by the way. And while I was in the plane, I just kept writing, because I remember there was a sheikh on YouTube. I'll mention his name. His name is Sheikh Nurjan Mir Ahmadi. He's I don't know where he's from. I have no idea where he's from, but he's basically a Sufi. And he's in the Naqshbandi Sufi order and stuff like that. But he said something so beautiful, bro. So forget about who he is. Forget about what he teaches and all that stuff. He said something that's like super, super beautiful. So basically what he said is that, imagine, because he answered this question without even me like trying to ask him, right? Basically, he said, imagine there is a box. Pretend like there's like a shoe box, right? And within this box, you put light. Now, if you take this box and you poke a hole through the box, light is going to come out, right? Now, if you poke another hole somewhere else within the same box, light is going to come out. And you poke more holes, light is going to come out. Now, the beauty of it is that same light within this hole is also within that hole too. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Is that the box, the inside of the box is light. And if you poke a hole, everything else that comes out is light. So the same light that's within this hole is in this hole too. And that's beautiful, because this is exactly how it works in the same way in real life too. So the same light that I have within me is also within you. And so who is this light? One of Allah's names is An-Nur, which is basically light. So the same, like you could say, the same energy within me is also within you too. Now, sometimes people say that, like when I say that, people come to me and they're like, oh, but now you're talking about like pantheism and stuff like that. You're saying that, oh, Allah's everywhere and all that stuff. Habib, it's in the Quran. Allah says, like, Allah's manifestation, wherever you look, you see Allah's face. This is actually like an ayah in the Quran. Now, the beauty of it is that this light is within you, whether you're good or you're bad. So even if you're like a criminal, this light is still within you. And even if you read like Surah An-Nur, not Ayat An-Nur, like the entire Surah An-Nur, you would see that, like, basically, this light creates everything. This light is within everything. Now, if you tell me there is a God, right? Just think of it logically. If you tell me there is a God, in order for this God to be a God, shouldn't this God be like literally everywhere, and at the same time nowhere? That's the thing. So it's like, wherever you look, the same ayah, wherever you look, you see the face of Allah. And that's something beautiful. But at the same time, that's not Allah. So Allah is that, and Allah is beyond that. Do you get it? So the Nur is the light. Like, Allah is the light. Now, me saying all this to you, what does all that mean? So even if I tell you, like, you have Allah's light within you, what does that actually mean? All that it means is that you have the power within you right now, but you're not using it. So that's the beauty. It's like, it's beautiful, but at the same time, when I was first writing about this, like in the plane, I almost started crying, because I'm like, bro, like, this is so powerful. Because think about it. Everything that you want in your life, everything that you're desiring in your life, you're wanting it because you want to go back to this light. If you want a bunch of wealth, right? You're not wanting the wealth, you want the quality of wealth. And one of Allah's names, Al-Ghani, which is basically the independent from the need. He doesn't need anything. And if you want, for example, to become beautiful, like the most beautiful, one of Allah's names is Al-Jamil, which is the most beautiful. So every quality that you want, every goal that you want, it all goes back to Allah, which basically means it's like you're not wanting the thing. You're not wanting the money. You're wanting something beyond the money. You're wanting the Creator. You're wanting Allah. You're wanting the light. So even if, for example, like you're sinning, right? You're sinning because you're trying to quiet down the mind. You're trying to quiet down the ego. And when you quiet down the ego, so when people go and drink, when people go and like just do a bunch of sins, for example, even just scrolling sometimes, right? It's not like a sin, obviously, but like when you're scrolling, you're quieting down the mind. So when you quiet down the mind, you get like a bit of exposure to this light, because the mind is not coming and like adding its own judgments anymore. So you're tasting a bit of this light, but you're going down. And so everything that you're doing, the good things that you're doing and the bad things that you're doing, all of it is you're wanting to go back to this light. Now, the bad things that you're doing is putting you down, so that's not good because it's ruining you. When you do the good things, you're going up, so it's good for you. But that's the beauty of it. It's like you're just wanting to go back to this light. And so if you just know that your mind, I mean, bro, think about it. Like when I'm looking back at my past, I'm like, that's so crazy, because little me, like the old me, you kind of start to have empathy for it. You start to have like love for it. It's like, bro, all I wanted to do is just to go back to this light. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to quiet down the mind so I can go back to this light. And it also gives you empathy for everybody else around you, because you're like, you don't judge people anymore, because you're like, man, all this person is trying to do is just go back to the light, but they're misunderstanding what's happening. So they're trying to quiet down the mind, because that's the only way they're finding the light. Because only through stillness, you find this light. And it made me think, I'm like, why is everybody trying to find this light? Because once you find this light, you reach eternity. You basically reach the destination. That's all you want. So that's literally the destination. It's not like having money and stuff like that. Because even if you have the luxury, if you have all the money in the world, it's not going to fulfill you until you reach this light. So you're doing everything just to reach this light. Now listen, here's the crazy part about it. So your brain tells you that you need to be doing all these steps right now, and then you'll get the thing, the money, and then you'll basically have everything that you want. But what I'm trying to say is that if you just forget what your brain is saying, forget about all the steps that your brain is saying, and go straight to the light, what I'm saying is that once you do that, everything that you're trying to do becomes super easy. Super easy. And that's how you become the luckiest human alive. Because think about it. If you're always connected with this light, then you're being guided by this light. You're being moved by this light. The things that you do are coming from light. And how do you do that? How do you basically go back to this light immediately, to the point that everything else that you do now, all the actions that you do right now, it becomes perfect. So even if you're trying to make a bunch of money, it's like, just go back to the light and go and start acting in the world. There was a quote, I forgot what it is. It's like, be in this world, but be out of it. Which means it's like, you're in the world, you're doing things, but you're out of it. You're so independent because you're back to the most independent. You're back to the most beautiful, the most loving. Even if you want love, right? Like, why do you want love? Because Allah is the most loving, so you want to go back to Allah. That's all you want. All you want is just to go back to Allah. That's it. Now, again, skip everything. Just go back straight to Allah, right? Once you do that, you're done. Like, and by the way, this is not like something that you do and then it's like, oh, that's it, I'm done. It's something they have to keep renewing every single moment, because human, the word human in Arabic is insan. So it means forgetful. Like basically everything that you do, you're always in a state of forgetfulness. So even if you go back to Allah right now, a few moments after, you'll become forgetful once again. So you'll actually forget that you're back to Allah. So every moment you have to renew this. And it's because every moment is fresh. So then here's the thing. A lot of people are going to be asking us like, okay, but how do I actually, like, how do I go back to Allah? How am I supposed to do that? Now, the beautiful thing about it is that even praying, fasting, all that stuff, true, it goes, like, it puts you back to Allah. But again, if there is a God, right? My sheikh used to tell me, it's like, if your God is confusing, then I can't believe in that God. Because God is not supposed to be confusing. God is supposed to be like the most simplest being ever. So how are you supposed to go back to Allah? All you need is just like stillness. Still the mind. Once you still the mind, once you still the body, what's left is just the light of Allah flowing through you. That's it. So when you're trying to still the mind, if you just quiet down the mind, go beyond the mind. Like, think of who's the one that's doing the thoughts in my brain, and then go beyond that. Like, who's the one that's watching these thoughts? Because there's someone watching these thoughts. And you'll remember that there is something that's been watching you all over these years. This thing's been watching you since you were young. This being has been watching you when you were older. This being watches you when you're sleeping. This being watches you when you're eating, when you're laughing, when you're crying. This being is always watching you. And this being is independent. It's constant. It's never changing. And so once you go back to this being, what's so beautiful too is that if you actually try to remember back your childhood years, the past, you'll notice that there is something that's there, that's always constant. This thing that's been there, that never changed. So once you realize that this being is here right now, that's watching you right now, watching you speak, watching you make, like watching me speak to you. Even me as I'm talking to you right now, I'm like, dang bro, this being is actually watching me right now too. Once you do that, I don't know what it does, bro. It just cleanses the body, it cleanses the mind, it cleanses the heart. And then once you do that, and by the way, even when you're fasting, right? When you're fasting, what are you trying to do? A lot of people say that when you're fasting, you're basically getting into a state of stillness within the body, because the body is not digesting anymore. And that's why in this Ramadan, because we're in Ramadan right now, when you're fasting, you're putting your body in a state of stillness. So you'll notice that even thinking about this, being in this state, is going to be so easy. It's so easy. And so the mind in Ramadan is not as active anymore because the body is not as active anymore. So do this in Ramadan. Literally go back to a state of stillness. Realize that Allah is watching you right now, and Allah is watching you every single moment. And then once you do that, you're basically going back to the light, because this is the light. Now what I noticed is that as soon as I started doing this, ever since I started doing this, bro, it's so crazy because it feels like the entire universe, Allah starts basically creating the entire universe so that it comes and it supports you. It literally makes the entire universe very friendly to you. Whatever goal you want now, because you're living life from a state of light from now. And so Allah's going to make everything work in your favor. So then every action that you do, like you're doing things, but at the same time, it's like Allah's molding the entire universe to be for you. I mean, look at Ashab al-Kahf, right? The people of the cave, the youth of the cave. They were sleeping the whole time, but at the same time, it's like Allah was bending physics just for them. Allah was bending the sun just for them. I mean, that's so beautiful because they were back to a state of light. It's actually so beautiful, bro. Dang, bro. Now, once you do this again, you won't need to be thinking anymore, because thinking is slow. I mean, have you ever been in a state of like flow? When you're in a state of flow, like if you're playing sports, when you're in a state of flow, you don't need to be thinking anymore. So when you're in a state of flow, that's basically you going back to the light, because your brain is not active. It's just you doing things. So it's like, who's the one that's doing these things? You know? So now when you're back to the state of presence, of stillness, and by the way, it's very helpful to do meditation too. If you're just sitting down and you're always just like thinking, it's like, subhanAllah, bro, like Allah is watching me right now, and Allah is watching me right now. And Allah is watching the fact that I'm thinking that Allah is watching me right now. Once you keep doing that over and over again, it's like your universe, bro, your universe becomes molded in your favor. And so if you ask me, it's like, how do you become the luckiest human alive? That's how you do it. That's literally how you do it. You don't need to be doing anything else. And even if you think about it, like, you're just taking the mind out of it, bro. That's all you're doing. You're just taking the mind out of coloring things. Because whenever things, think about this, whenever things happen to you, let's just say you're walking around and you see an accident, immediately you're going to be coloring that accident with your own emotions. But if you just look at the accident for what it is, which is just things happening, that's all it is, and you don't color it, you don't use your brain, you don't use your mind to color it, it's just something that happened. So you don't even know if that thing that happened is like good for you or bad for you. Most of the time, it's always good for you. Because who's running the show? Allah is running the show. So even if things appear to be bad, they're not bad. You're coloring them with your mind to be bad. And that's why when you still your mind, you let Allah's light flow through you, you become the luckiest human alive. Now, again, when you're doing salah, you'll notice that everything in Islam, it helps you to go back to that state. When you're doing your salah, you're going back to that state. Because even the words that you're reciting, the acts that you're doing, all of it is just helping you still the mind so that you go back to the state. You use the body and you use the mind to strengthen the heart. And then when the heart is strengthened, you're back to that state. You're back to a state of light. And that's the beauty, man. So right now, I am in Mecca, and I was doing Umrah. I was in the Kaaba, like Masjid al-Haram, and I was just trying to practice this whole thing where you just quiet down the mind. And it's so beautiful there, man. It's actually so beautiful. Now, do you have to be in Mecca to do that? No, you don't have to be in Mecca to do that, obviously, right? Because your heart, you do realize, like, your heart is more valuable than the Kaaba itself. Like, your heart is so valuable. Allah says, like, the human is more valuable than the Kaaba itself. So just the fact that you still have your heart within you, that you have this light within you, that's more valuable than anything else. The fact that you still have that is beautiful. So use it, bro. Literally use it. That's all you have to do. Still the mind. Realize that Allah is watching you. Just become aware of that. And that's all you have to do. It's that simple.